What if the reason you're not getting ahead in life isn't because you're lazy? What if it's actually the opposite? What if you are working too hard on all the wrong things? There is a psychological trap, a silent one, and millions of people fall into it every single day. They wake up early, they grind until midnight, they check every box, answer every message, handle every task, and at the end of the week, they have nothing to show for it. This video is about that trap, and why breaking free from it might be the most important thing you ever do. There's a difference between movement and progress, and most people have never been taught to see that difference. Psychologists call it activity bias, the human brain's deep tendency to feel that doing something is better than doing nothing, even when that something leads nowhere, even when it drains you, even when it pulls you further from where you actually want to go. Think about it like this. Imagine a man named Marcus. He works 6 days a week at 2 jobs. He's always tired, always behind, always catching up. His phone never stops buzzing. His schedule is packed. From the outside, Marcus looks like the hardest working person in any room. But Marcus has been at the same financial level for 11 years. Not because he lacks effort, but because his effort has been perfectly designed unconsciously to maintain survival. Not to build wealth, not to create freedom, just to stay afloat. Marcus is busy, but his busyness is a reaction to life, not a direction for it. This is the first psychological truth you need to understand. Busyness is often a disguise for avoidance. When you stay perpetually busy, you never have to sit with the uncomfortable question, am I actually moving towards something meaningful? That silence is terrifying. So the mind fills it with tasks, with noise, with the feeling of productivity without any of the actual results. The wealthy think differently. They protect their stillness, they ask harder questions, they choose fewer things, and they go deeper, because they understand that one well-aimed move outperforms 100 scattered ones. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. There's a reason this busyness trap tends to follow people with less money more than people with more money, and it has nothing to do with intelligence or work ethic. It has everything to do with something called the scarcity mindset. When your mind is consumed by financial pressure, when you're worried about rent, about the next bill, about making it to Friday, your cognitive bandwidth shrinks. Researchers at Princeton and Harvard studied this. What they found was extraordinary. Financial stress literally reduces your mental capacity, not because you're less capable, but because your brain is already working overtime just managing fear. And fear demands immediate action. Not strategic action, not long-term thinking. Just do something, anything. Fix this now. So you take the extra shift. You say yes to every request. You hustle on things that feel urgent but don't actually move the needle. You spend your best mental hours on tasks that keep the situation stable instead of on decisions that could transform it. Let me give you a story to make this real. There was a woman named Diana, single mother, smart, resilient. She worked as a customer service rep and ran a small online shop on the side. She was constantly busy, constantly responding to customers, managing logistics, handling complaints, doing everything herself. One day, a mentor looked at her numbers and said, "Diana, you've been running this for 2 years. You're working harder than most CEOs I know, but you're making less than a part-time employee." Diana broke down, not from sadness but from recognition. She had been so deep in doing that she never stepped back to see. She was busy being a worker inside her own business instead of being the architect of it. The scarcity loop had convinced her that stopping to think was a luxury. That strategy was for people who had already made it. But that's the lie. Strategy isn't the reward for escaping poverty, it's the path out of it. Once Diana started protecting 2 hours a week just to think, to review, to plan, to cut, and focus, everything began to shift. Not because she worked harder, because she finally started working on the right things. Warren Buffett once said something that shocked the business world. He said that the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. Read that again. Not yes, no. The psychology of wealth is not about doing more. It is about eliminating ruthlessly so that what remains receives your full force. Let's look at a real example. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, built a billion-dollar company from a $5,000 savings account. She was a fax machine saleswoman before that. She had no fashion industry connections, no investors, no team. What she had was radical focus. She didn't try to launch 10 products. She focused on one. She didn't try to sell everywhere. She focused on one store, Neiman Marcus, and she gave everything to getting through that one door. She was busy, yes, but she was busy with precision. Every action had a direct link to the vision. Contrast that with the average person's week. Dozens of tasks, most of them reactive, most of them other people's priorities dressed up as your own responsibilities. Here's the psychological principle behind this. Wealthy people have learned to distinguish between the urgent and the important. The urgent screams at you. It vibrates your phone, it knocks on your door, it demands attention right now, and it almost never changes your life. The important whispers. It sits quietly in the corner of your mind while you're busy fighting fires, and if you never make time for it, it just stays there, waiting, while your life stays exactly the same. Most people spend 90% of their energy on urgent tasks that solve today's problems and create tomorrow's exact same problems. The mentally wealthy spend their energy building systems, skills, and decisions that make tomorrow's problems smaller or eliminate them entirely. This is not a talent, it is a trained habit of mind, and it can be learned. Here is the truth that most motivational content will never tell you. Being busy feels like virtue. In our culture, especially in the West, busyness is worn like a badge of honor. I've been so busy, I don't even have time to breathe. We say these things and somewhere inside we expect admiration. But the wealthiest, most fulfilled people? They don't say that. They say, I've been thinking a lot lately. They say, I cut 3 projects this month. They say, I finally said no to something that was costing me more than it gave me. Because here is what they understand at a fundamental level. Your time and attention are your most finite, most valuable resource. Not money, not connections, not talent. Time and attention. And every hour you spend in reactive busyness running on a hamster wheel that society built for you is an hour stolen from the version of yourself that could have actually changed your life. The poor stay busy because the system needs them busy. Busy people don't question. Busy people don't build. Busy people don't threaten the structure they were born into. But the moment you slow down long enough to think clearly, the moment you look at your calendar and ask, does any of this actually serve my goals? That is the moment something begins to shift. Not magically, not overnight, but irreversibly. So what's the takeaway? It's not work less. That's not what this is about. It's work with intention. It's the decision made deliberately to stop letting urgency run your life, to stop mistaking motion for momentum, to stop filling every silence with noise just to avoid sitting with the discomfort of asking bigger questions. The most powerful shift you can make isn't in your bank account. It isn't in your job or your city or your circumstances. It's in the criteria you use to decide what deserves your energy. Start asking, does this task move me forward or just keep me standing still? Start asking, am I doing this because it matters or because it's comfortable and familiar? Start asking, what would I do with my time if I wasn't afraid? Because somewhere between the busyness and the noise there is a quieter, more focused version of you. A version that doesn't hustle harder, but thinks clearer. A version that chooses less but builds more. That version already exists. You just have to make enough space to finally meet them.